A marriage rarely dies in court. It dies in small replies that suddenly sound like they came from a stranger. The text hit my screen at 11:43 p.m. I'm busy. 2 words. 11 years collapsed inside them. I stared at the message longer than I should have. Olivia used to send paragraphs, heart emojis, grocery reminders, dumb memes during meetings. That text looked surgical, clean, detached, efficient. My thumb hovered over the keyboard while the call timer from my third unanswered attempt still glowed at the top of the screen. 3 missed calls in 12 minutes. My wife always answered after 1. I typed 4 words. Stay with him. Then I pressed send. The typing bubble appeared instantly, disappeared, reappeared. Another incoming call flashed across my dashboard less than 5 seconds later. Olivia. I let it ring. Her second call came before the first finished vibrating. Then a third. I muted the phone and drove another mile before pulling into the parking structure beneath my office building. The concrete levels sat empty except for the security contractor's Tahoe near the elevator bay. I killed the engine and opened our shared family location app. Olivia's icon pulsed downtown near the Harbor Meridian Hotel. Executive Tower. Overnight valet section. She told me she had a late marketing strategy session in Plano. Plano sat 30 miles north. The Harbor Meridian sat 7 minutes from Ryan Mercer's condo. Funny thing about suspicion. Your brain starts indexing details like an auditor digging through cooked books. Tiny inconsistencies stop floating around separately. They lock together. 3 weeks earlier, Olivia changed the password on her tablet after leaving it face up beside me for years. 2 months earlier, she opened a separate checking account for budgeting. Last Friday, she transferred $12,000 from our joint savings into a private account tied to a regional credit union I'd never seen before. I found that one by accident while reconciling our quarterly tax folders. At the time, she blamed identity theft concerns. I accepted the explanation because men like me build routines around trust. We assume the person sleeping beside us protects the same foundation we do. Looking back, every answer she gave carried the precision of someone rehearsing future testimony. My phone vibrated again. Another text. Ethan, please answer. I opened the message preview and locked the screen again. The panic arrived too fast. That mattered. Guilty people fear silence more than confrontation. Silence gives them room to imagine evidence. I leaned back against the headrest and replayed the previous 6 months like surveillance footage. Olivia suddenly asking questions about equity distribution inside my construction firm. Olivia requesting access to archived tax returns she never cared about before. Olivia pushing me to refinance the house even after rates climbed. At dinner last month, she asked what percentage of my company technically counted as premarital ownership under Texas law. She framed it casually while cutting salmon. I remember laughing at the question. She watched me over her wine glass for half a second too long. That look returned to me now with brutal clarity. My phone buzzed once more. This time, the preview read, "How do you know about him?" And right there inside that parking garage, with 34 unread emails waiting upstairs and concrete dust still stuck to my work boots, the balance of power shifted. People think betrayal arrives with lipstick stains or hotel receipts. Real betrayal starts when someone studies your life like an exit strategy. I stayed inside that parking garage another 40 minutes while Olivia kept calling. 21 attempts. Then silence. That silence told me more than panic ever could. She had shifted into damage control. I opened our joint banking app and exported 6 months of transaction history into a private encrypted folder on my company laptop. My construction firm already used forensic accounting software for vendor audits after one subcontractor tried skimming equipment invoices 2 years earlier. Same software, different target. I flagged every unusual transfer tied to Olivia's personal spending. Boutique hotels, downtown restaurants, wire transfers under reporting thresholds. 300 here, 700 there. Smart amounts, small enough to avoid triggering household arguments, large enough to build a hidden runway. Then I found the pattern that tightened my chest. Every transfer landed within 48 hours of communication with Ryan Mercer. I knew because Olivia synced her calendar to our shared Apple account years ago and forgot the system archived deleted events for 30 days. Lunch meetings labeled client coffee. Marketing consultations scheduled after business hours. One recurring entry every second Thursday, simply labeled RM, Ryan Mercer. She never expected me to check metadata timestamps against financial records. Most husbands never would. I pulled Ryan's LinkedIn profile beside the banking spreadsheets and studied him like a bid competitor before a lawsuit. Regional sales director. Divorced last year. Luxury condo near downtown Dallas. Salary around 200 grand if the bonus structure matched industry average. The type of man who leased image before building substance. Expensive watches. Networking photos. Motivational quotes about discipline posted by men who confuse vanity with control. I zoomed in on one corporate event photo and spotted Olivia in the background near the bar. Her hand rested on his arm. Tiny detail. Intimate detail. Familiar detail. My phone buzzed again. This time from Chase Fraud Prevention. A purchase authorization request for $4,800 at Cartier. Downtown location. Olivia held an authorized user card under our primary account. I approved the charge instantly. Then I smiled for the first time all night, because that purchase told me something critical. She felt safe. People hide affairs carefully. People planning exits grow reckless once they believe the narrative already favors them. That ring or bracelet probably sat inside a velvet box beside a hotel bed, while she pictured a future funded partly by assets I spent 14 years building. I opened my notes app and typed one sentence. She believes she controls timing. Then I called my attorney. Martin Caldwell answered after 2 rings, even though it was almost midnight. Good divorce attorneys keep vampire hours. I told him I needed a confidential asset protection meeting at 7 the next morning. He paused after hearing my voice. You finally found proof? He asked. Better, I said. I found intent. Silence settled briefly across the line before Martin lowered his voice. Ethan, before tomorrow arrives, freeze every unsecured liquid account tied to your operating company. I grabbed my laptop again. Why? Another pause. Then he said the sentence that changed the entire shape of the night. Because somebody already requested copies of your corporate ownership filings 3 days ago. Men spend years believing danger looks dramatic. Real danger wears patience, studies paperwork, and smiles across the dinner table while building a financial exit route behind your back. I reached Martin Caldwell's office at 6:52 the next morning carrying a laptop full of screenshots, transaction histories, and archive calendar logs. Martin skimmed through the files while drinking black coffee from a mug that read billable hours build beach houses. He stopped at the ownership filing request and leaned back slowly. This changes everything, he said. Affairs complicate marriages. Asset discovery turns them into campaigns. Martin opened a yellow legal pad and started mapping exposure points inside my life with the precision of a military planner. Joint accounts, company distributions, real estate equity, retirement vehicles, liquidity positions. He circled my construction firm twice. Walker Civil Development started from a single backhoe and 3 subcontractors 12 years earlier. Now the company managed municipal infrastructure projects across North Texas worth millions annually. Olivia understood enough about the business to know the company mattered. She just never understood how I structured it. That difference suddenly became very important. Martin asked for every corporate amendment filed during the past 5 years. I pulled encrypted PDFs from cloud storage while he contacted a forensic accountant named Lisa Moreno. Within 30 minutes, Lisa joined us through video conference wearing reading glasses and the expression of someone who trusted spreadsheets more than human beings. I liked her instantly. She reviewed the flagged transactions and started building a behavioral timeline. Your wife escalated cash movement after February, she said. See this cluster pattern? Same merchant categories, same transfer windows, same geographic overlap with the hotel district. Lisa enlarged another section. And here, somebody attempted soft valuation analysis on your company before initiating formal discovery. Martin nodded toward me, meaning. Lisa folded her hands, meaning somebody planned this months ago. The room grew very still after that sentence. Martin shifted strategy immediately. He drafted temporary operating restrictions on my company accounts and prepared emergency documentation shielding ongoing municipal contracts from marital interference. Texas law protected portions of premarital ownership structures if maintained properly. Lucky for me, I treated legal compliance like oxygen. Every major asset acquisition flowed through separate, holding entities established long before Olivia started asking suspicious questions over salmon dinners. Martin looked almost impressed. "You built this company like a paranoid man," he said. "Construction teaches survival," I answered. "One bad contract can bury 50 workers." Lisa interrupted before the conversation drifted. "There is another issue." She rotated her monitor toward us. An IP access report from our home internet network filled the screen. Olivia had downloaded 18 folders from my private cloud archive 4 nights earlier at 1:12 in the morning. Insurance records, corporate tax summaries, property deeds, equipment depreciation schedules. She searched specifically for leverage. My stomach tightened for the first time since the garage. Betrayal hurts. Calculation chills you differently. Martin lowered his voice. "Ethan, from this point forward, assume every conversation inside your house serves future litigation." I nodded once. Then my phone lit up across the conference table. "Olivia." Again. Martin gestured toward the screen. "Speakerphone." I answered calmly. Her breathing sounded uneven. "Where are you?" she asked. "Handling business." Silence stretched briefly before she spoke again, softer this time. "Ryan showed me the message you sent last night." I stared at the legal folders covering the table. "Good," I said. Then she whispered something that froze every person in that office. "He says you already knew about us before yesterday." That question changed the temperature inside the room. Olivia sounded scared for the first time since this started, which meant Ryan had started protecting himself before protecting her. Men like him always do. I leaned back in Martin's office chair and let the silence stretch long enough for her breathing to sharpen. "Interesting," I said finally. "Ryan talks too much." Martin wrote something across his yellow pad and slid it toward me. "Keep her talking." I understood immediately. People under pressure rush to fill silence with information. Olivia did exactly that. "He said you asked someone about him months ago," she continued carefully. "He thinks you hired somebody." I stared through the conference room glass at Lisa while she cross-referenced account transfers on her monitor. "Your boyfriend seems nervous," I said. Her inhale caught halfway through the line. Small sound, huge meaning. "Ethan," she started. "Stop," I cut in calmly. "You lost the right to control this conversation yesterday." Another silence followed. Then came the pivot. "Can we talk at home tonight?" There it was. The reset attempt. People facing exposure rush toward private conversations because private conversations leave fewer fingerprints. Martin slowly shook his head before I even answered. 6 o'clock, I said. "Kitchen table." Then I hung up. Lisa rotated her screen toward us before I could process the call. "You need to see this." She enlarged a sequence of outgoing communications tied to Olivia's private Gmail account. 4 encrypted document transfers had moved through a file-sharing service during the previous month. Recipient alias, RM Consulting Group. Lisa clicked deeper into the metadata. 2 files carried labels matching my company's internal project naming structure. Bid projections, municipal timelines, equipment allocation summaries. My pulse slowed instead of rising. Calm can become dangerous once betrayal crosses from emotional into financial. That information carries competitive value, I said quietly. Martin's expression hardened instantly. "If company documents left your control without authorization, this moves beyond divorce strategy." Lisa nodded. "And there is more." She opened another window. Olivia searched Texas community property statutes repeatedly over the previous 8 weeks. She also visited forums discussing emergency restraining orders, executive compensation freezes, and forensic asset tracing during contested divorces. Somebody coached her aggressively. Martin tapped the table twice. "Ryan," or Ryan's attorney, Lisa added. I rubbed my jaw slowly while pieces aligned in my head with brutal clarity. The affair served as the emotional layer. The legal planning mattered more. Ryan wanted leverage over Walker Civil before filing deadlines locked down financial records. Olivia probably believed she stood beside a smarter man guiding her toward a better life. In reality, she had attached herself to somebody treating my marriage like an acquisition opportunity. Lisa enlarged another entry and froze. "Here," she said. "This one concerns me. 3 days earlier, somebody attempted access to a dormant holding company connected to one of my equipment yards outside Fort Worth. The account remained inactive for years after I shifted assets into newer entities. Almost nobody knew it existed. Olivia should never have found it." Martin looked at me carefully. "Who else knows about that holding company?" I answered immediately. My father. My accountant. And the sentence stopped halfway out of my mouth because memory finally connected with instinct. Last Thanksgiving, Ryan spent 20 minutes alone inside my home office while everyone watched football downstairs. At the time, he claimed he was searching for the bathroom. Martin saw the realization hit my face. Ethan, he said quietly, I think your wife invited a corporate spy into your house. Then my phone lit up again. This time the caller identification read unknown number. I answered without speaking. A male voice came through calm and confident. You should have stayed out of this, Ethan. Ryan Mercer finally decided to call me himself. Ryan sounded exactly like I expected. Smooth voice. Controlled breathing. The kind of confidence men borrow from expensive suits and other people's wives. I stayed quiet long enough for him to keep talking. Olivia made mistakes, he said. You are turning this into something bigger than it needs to be. Martin leaned closer across the table while Lisa started recording timestamps from the call. I switched the phone to speaker and rested it beside the legal folders. Interesting choice of words, I replied. You skipped apology and moved straight to negotiation. Ryan exhaled sharply through his nose. Tiny reaction. Ego bruised. I called because Olivia is emotional right now, he continued. You built a good life together. Smart people handle these situations privately. There it was again. Control language. Men attempting manipulation always frame surrender as maturity. I opened one of the downloaded file logs while he spoke and scanned the access records tied to his consulting shell company. Tell me something, Ryan, I said calmly. Why did your firm access infrastructure bid projections from Walker Civil? Silence exploded across the line so hard I almost smiled. Martin looked up immediately. Lisa froze her typing. Ryan recovered fast, but recovery still leaves fingerprints. I have no idea what you were talking about. Wrong answer, I said. Try again. Another pause. Longer this time. Then came the first crack. Olivia sent me a few files because she thought your company overworked you. She wanted advice. Advice. That word almost impressed me. He tried converting corporate espionage into relationship concern. Lisa quietly pointed toward the monitor where another transaction report flashed across the screen. Ryan's consulting company received 2 large deposits from a competitor construction group based in Austin 3 months earlier. Timing matched the stolen file transfers almost perfectly. My stomach turned cold in a very specific way. Betrayal from a spouse hurts personally. Betrayal tied to your business threatens hundreds of employees, payroll schedules, retirement accounts, and municipal contracts, depending on your signature. Ryan finally sensed the shift in silence because his tone sharpened. Look, Ethan, this conversation heads somewhere dangerous for everybody. Dangerous for who? I asked. For Olivia? He hesitated. For your company. There it was. The threat finally stepped into daylight. Martin immediately started writing instructions across legal paper while mouthing one sentence silently toward me. Keep him talking. Ryan cleared his throat before continuing. Some documents create problems when regulators start asking questions. Competitive bidding laws get messy. Municipal oversight committees love investigations. I leaned back slowly in my chair. So your plan involved sleeping with my wife and blackmailing my company. I never said blackmail. You never had to. The line went quiet again. Then Ryan changed tactics completely. Olivia told me you kept hidden assets from her. I almost laughed at that because now I understood exactly how he hooked her. He convinced Olivia she deserved more than half. More lifestyle. More power. More access. Greed disguises itself as empowerment remarkably well. Ryan, I said carefully, you built this entire strategy around one bad assumption. Which is, I opened the holding company records Martin had just pulled from state archives. You thought Olivia married the man who owned Walker Civil. Silence. Real silence this time. Then Martin slid a newly printed document across the table toward me. Ownership transfer certification. Dated 7 years earlier. Signed by my father. Signed by me. Signed by the trust administrator. Ryan finally spoke again, slower now. What exactly are you saying? I stared at the paper for 3 full seconds before answering. I am saying my name stopped controlling the company a long time ago. Then somebody started pounding aggressively on Martin Caldwell's office door. Martin opened the office door with the caution of a man expecting bad news or expensive consequences. Olivia stood outside, gripping her purse strap so tightly her knuckles looked pale under the hallway lights. She wore the same cream-colored blazer from yesterday's fake strategy meeting, but the confidence from those hotel nights had vanished. Fear changes posture. Fast. Ryan stayed on speakerphone beside my elbow, listening to everything in complete silence. Olivia stepped inside and stopped cold when she saw Lisa's monitor filled with spreadsheets and transfer logs. Her eyes moved across the conference table, one detail at a time. Printed banking records, corporate filings, asset maps, call transcripts. She realized instantly this had moved far beyond a husband discovering an affair. "Ethan," she whispered carefully, "what is all this?" I folded my hands together and watched her closely because moments like this reveal who somebody really is. Guilty people usually ask about feelings first. Strategic people ask about exposure. Olivia stared directly at the trust documentation near Martin's legal pad. "You hired forensic accountants?" she asked. There it was. Her first concern involved evidence, not marriage. Martin closed the office door behind her. "Mrs. Walker," he said evenly, "you should consider retaining counsel." Her face tightened immediately. "Why would I need a lawyer?" Lisa answered before anyone else could. "Because somebody transferred proprietary infrastructure data through your private email account to an outside consultant tied to competing municipal bids." Olivia blinked twice. Fast. Her breathing shortened slightly. Ryan suddenly spoke through the phone speaker again. Olivia stopped talking. The entire room froze for half a second. She turned slowly toward the phone on the table like she had forgotten he was still connected. That reaction told me everything. Ryan controlled more of this operation than she realized. "You told me those files were public summaries," she said quietly. Ryan answered too fast. "They were harmless." Lisa rotated her screen toward Olivia. "Internal cost projections worth millions usually fail to qualify as harmless." Olivia looked at me then. Real panic finally surfaced behind her eyes. "Ethan, I never tried hurting your company." "My company?" I repeated calmly. Interesting phrase. She swallowed hard. "Our company." She corrected immediately, but correction arrived too late. Pressure strips masks faster than anger ever could. Martin slid a document toward her across the polished conference table. "You should read page 4 carefully." Olivia picked it up with shaky fingers. I watched confusion hit first, then disbelief, then something close to horror. "What is this?" she whispered. "Irrevocable trust transfer," Martin replied. "Executed 7 years ago." She scanned the signatures again, like the words might rearrange themselves into a different outcome. "Walker Civil belongs to a trust?" she asked. "Majority control does," I answered. "You spent months planning division of assets that legally never sat inside our marriage." Her shoulders dropped slightly after that sentence. Tiny movement. Massive collapse. Ryan finally cut back in through the phone, sharper now. "Olivia, leave that office immediately." She ignored him completely. Smartest decision she made in months. "You knew," she said while staring at me. "How long?" I thought about answering emotionally. Instead, I chose precision. "I suspected the affair weeks ago. I confirmed the financial planning yesterday." Her eyes widened. "Then why act normal?" "Because men who build companies learn something important early. Panic destroys leverage. Calm creates options." I held her gaze steadily across the table. I wanted to see how far this actually went. Ryan's voice exploded suddenly through the speaker. "This conversation ends now." Then the line disconnected. Lisa immediately started typing again while Martin checked his watch. "Too late," he muttered. I looked toward him. "What?" Martin tapped the incoming email notification flashing across his laptop screen. Ryan Mercer just attempted emergency deletion requests across 3 financial platforms. Lisa's fingers moved faster over her keyboard before she looked up with a cold professional smile. "Good," she said, "because that means he finally realized we already subpoenaed the records 40 minutes ago." The next 48 hours transformed Olivia completely. Fear stripped away the polished confidence Ryan built around her. She stopped speaking like a woman planning a future and started speaking like somebody trying to survive a collapse she never expected. Martin filed emergency preservation notices before noon. Lisa locked down mirrored financial records across 6 separate institutions. Every attempt Ryan made to erase transfers, delete communications, or restructure shell accounts triggered automated retention flags through the subpoenas already in motion. Watching him panic through digital footprints felt strangely clinical. Wealthy people always believe money buys invisibility until timestamps start testifying against them. Olivia sat across from me in Martin's office long after Ryan disconnected. Her mascara looked uneven now. Hair slightly messy. Tiny details. Human details. Betrayal fantasies usually end with screaming matches in movies. Real destruction sounds quieter. He told me you had assets from me, she said finally. He said you treated me like an outsider in your own life. I held her gaze steadily. You downloaded corporate records at 1 in the morning, Olivia. Her eyes dropped toward the table immediately. I thought, she stopped. You thought what? I asked calmly. She rubbed both palms together slowly before answering. I thought you were preparing to leave me first. That sentence almost hurt worse than the affair because buried inside it sat the real truth about our marriage. Somewhere along the line, Olivia stopped seeing me as her husband and started seeing me as a threat to her lifestyle. Ryan simply exploited fears already living inside her. Lisa interrupted softly from across the room. We traced another account. She enlarged a banking map on the monitor. A private investment portfolio sat under an LLC registered 3 states away. Initial funding source matched transfers from Ryan's consulting company. Secondary deposits matched Olivia's hidden checking account almost dollar for dollar. Martin studied the screen silently before speaking. They were building a litigation reserve. Olivia looked genuinely confused. A what? A financial war chest, I answered. Attorney fees. Investigators. Temporary housing. Strategic leverage. Her face drained slowly after that explanation because she finally understood something ugly. Ryan prepared for battle long before she did. He never entered this relationship emotionally. He entered operationally. Olivia whispered his name under her breath, like somebody realizing they boarded the wrong airplane after takeoff. Martin's assistant stepped inside the office carrying another folder marked urgent. He scanned the contents briefly, then handed it directly to me. This arrived from Austin 20 minutes ago. I opened the file and felt my heartbeat slow into something cold and focused. Competitive bidding complaints. Anonymous accusations against Walker Civil submitted to a municipal ethics committee 3 weeks earlier. The allegations referenced inflated equipment costs, insider scheduling advantages, and concealed trust ownership structures. Somebody tried poisoning future contract eligibility before filing divorce proceedings. Olivia stared at the pages while horror spread across her expression. I swear to God I never filed those. I believed her immediately because Ryan's strategy suddenly looked obvious. Seduce proximity. Extract information. Destabilize leadership. Weaponize marriage during active contract cycles. He used Olivia as access. The affair mattered emotionally to her. To him, it functioned as infrastructure. Martin loosened his tie slowly and looked toward me. Ethan, this stopped being family law yesterday. Lisa nodded once. This qualifies as coordinated corporate interference. Olivia pressed both hands over her mouth while tears finally surfaced. Oh my God. I stood and walked toward the conference room window for the first time all morning. Downtown Dallas stretched below us, while municipal projects carrying my company logo sat under construction across half the skyline. Hundreds of workers depended on Walker Civil every Friday. Families. Mortgages. Retirement plans. Ryan threatened more than my marriage. That realization erased the last piece of hesitation inside me. My phone vibrated quietly in my pocket. New email. Sender unknown. Subject line. You should have taken the deal. I opened the attachment and saw a surveillance photo of me entering Martin Caldwell's office at dawn the previous morning. The surveillance photo changed the entire tone inside the room because it proved Ryan operated several moves ahead of what looked like a simple affair. Somebody tracked me before legal filings even started. Somebody watched Martin's office. Somebody wanted leverage badly enough to cross into intimidation. Lisa enlarged the image metadata immediately, while Martin contacted a private investigator he trusted from an old corporate fraud case. Olivia sat frozen beside the conference table staring at the photograph like she had finally realized the man she followed into this mess carried darker instincts than charm and expensive dinners. I swear I never knew about this, she whispered. I believed her again. Ryan kept her compartmentalized. Smart manipulators separate romance from operations because emotional partners leak information under pressure. Olivia served as access. Ryan handled execution. Lisa traced the email routing through 3 masked servers before isolating a weak point buried inside the chain. Interesting, she muttered. He rushed this. She highlighted a device signature connected to the anonymous account. Same device family linked to Ryan's consulting firm cloud login. Panic creates sloppy fingerprints. Martin returned from the hallway carrying another folder while speaking rapidly into his Bluetooth headset. File emergency injunctions now, he ordered somebody on the other end. Freeze communication between Mercer Strategic and Austin Infrastructure Holdings. Then he disconnected and looked directly at me. The competitor company funding Ryan just withdrew from 2 municipal bid reviews this morning. Why? Olivia asked quietly. Martin dropped the folder onto the table. Because they know discovery is coming. Lisa opened the contents and projected them across the monitor. Internal accounting summaries. Wire transfers. Consulting retainers disguised as market research expenses. Ryan accepted nearly $400,000 over 6 months from Austin Infrastructure Holdings while simultaneously receiving confidential data connected to Walker civil bids. The affair suddenly looked microscopic compared to the money trail. My phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown encrypted number. Check your driveway. Martin's eyes narrowed immediately. Do not go home alone. 20 minutes later, 3 vehicles pulled into my neighborhood together. My truck. Martin's black SUV. The investigator's unmarked sedan. Olivia sat silently in the back seat beside legal folders she still held against her chest like they could somehow shield her from reality. We stopped in front of my house and saw the package immediately. Small cardboard box placed directly beside the front door. No shipping label. No postage. Just my name written across the top in black marker. The investigator crouched first and opened it carefully while the rest of us stayed back near the walkway. Inside sat a cheap burner phone and a printed photograph of Olivia entering the Harbor Meridian Hotel beside Ryan 3 weeks earlier. Time-stamped. High resolution. Professional angle. Somebody else had watched them too. The investigator powered on the burner phone carefully. One new voicemail already waited inside. He pressed play while all of us listened. Ryan's voice filled the quiet front yard. Calm. Controlled. Colder than before. You should have accepted private terms, Ethan. Now everybody gets exposed. Olivia covered her mouth instantly. Martin took the phone from the investigator and replayed the message twice. He is escalating, he said. Good, I answered quietly. They all looked at me after that because something inside my voice changed. Fear finally burned away completely during the drive over. Ryan wanted pressure. He wanted secrecy. He wanted panic. Men like him survive by convincing decent people to avoid public conflict. I walked past the investigator, unlocked my front door, and headed straight toward my home office. Olivia followed carefully behind me. What are you doing? She asked. I opened the hidden wall safe behind the bookshelf and removed a thin gray folder sealed inside waterproof plastic. Martin saw the label and stopped walking. Ethan. I handed the folder directly to him. You said this stopped being family law, I replied. So let us stop treating Ryan Mercer like somebody having an affair. Martin opened the folder slowly and stared at the first page for 3 long seconds before looking back up at me with genuine shock. Why did you never tell anybody about this? Because some leverage only matters once your enemy overplays his hand. I glanced toward Olivia while answering. Ryan spent 6 months trying to infiltrate Walker Civil. Then I tapped the first document inside the folder. Too bad he never realized my company has worked with federal transportation investigators since 2019. 3 months later, Ryan Mercer sat inside a federal interview room wearing the same tailored confidence that used to impress corporate networking events. The difference came from the cameras pointed at him and the stack of financial records spread across the steel table. Federal transportation investigators move slowly until they move all at once. Once Walker Civil's internal security agreements activated, Ryan's entire operation unraveled through subpoena chains, metadata recovery, and procurement fraud analysis stretching across 2 states. Austin Infrastructure Holdings lost municipal eligibility within 6 weeks. Their executive board claimed ignorance immediately. Executives always do. Lisa's forensic accounting timeline buried them anyway. Every transfer connected cleanly. Every deleted file returned through cloud recovery. Every pressure tactic Ryan used circled back through encrypted accounts tied to his consulting shell company. Men like him believe intelligence means staying one move ahead emotionally. Real power lives inside systems, documentation, and patience. Olivia moved into a downtown apartment after signing separation agreements Martin negotiated with surgical precision. She received enough to live comfortably because I refused turning heartbreak into cruelty. Revenge sounds satisfying online. Peace feels better in real life. She looked exhausted during the final signing appointment. Smaller somehow, like somebody waking from anesthesia and finally understanding what surgery removed. Right before leaving, she paused beside the conference room door and asked the question people always ask too late. Was there a moment we still could have fixed this? I thought about that for a long time after she left because marriage rarely collapses in a single night. It erodes through secrecy, comparison, resentment, and small betrayals repeated quietly enough to sound normal. Probably, I answered finally. Before honesty became strategy. She cried after that. Softly, privately. I let her. Some consequences arrive louder than punishment. Walker Civil survived the investigation stronger than before because transparency builds trust faster than image management ever will. Municipal contracts expanded. Our crews finished the Arlington Transit Corridor ahead of schedule. Friday payroll kept clearing. Hundreds of families kept eating because one man's ego failed to destroy what generations of workers built together. My father called me one night after the settlement finalized. Proud of you, he said simply. Men from his generation rarely speak emotionally. For words from him carried more weight than speeches. I still think about the text sometimes. The short reply that started all this. Funny how entire lives pivot on tiny moments. A missed call. A strange silence. For words sent from a parking garage by a husband who suddenly realized his marriage sounded unfamiliar. Looking back now, the affair itself mattered less than the disrespect hiding underneath it. Olivia and Ryan both believed I would react emotionally, recklessly, loudly. They planned for anger. They prepared for desperation. They never prepared for discipline. That became their fatal mistake. Calm terrifies manipulative people because calm men gather evidence while everybody else wastes energy shouting. Last week, I drove past the Harbor Meridian Hotel on my way to a transportation board meeting downtown. Same entrance. Same valet stand. Different man behind the wheel. My phone buzzed at a red light while I waited near the intersection. Unknown number. One new message. No greeting. No name. Just a single sentence. Ryan Mercer accepted a plea deal this morning. I stared at the screen for several seconds before locking the phone again. Then I smiled slightly and kept driving because closure never arrives when somebody suffers. Closure arrives the moment their betrayal stops controlling your future.